In July 1971, four nuns disappeared from the remote convent of St. Rosalia on the southern coast of Sicily. The missing women were Matilda, Rosanna, Beatrice, and Laura, all young. Their disappearance was silent. No cries, no notes, just silence. On the day they vanished, nothing unusual was observed in the convent. But in the morning, the four sisters did not appear at the obligatory early mass. When one of the older nuns knocked on their cells, there was no response. All the doors were locked from the inside. The windows were shut. No signs of violence. Personal belongings untouched. The abbot of the convent, Father Michel Albini, later claimed the nuns had left voluntarily. Police began investigating 3 days later, but the case lasted less than 7 months and was closed without results. No suspects, no leads, no bodies. The Vatican archives remained sealed. The press was barred. The official reports merely stated, "Voluntary departure from religious life, 50 years passed." In the spring of 2023, the convent was selected for restoration. Architect Paul Alabardon, during structural assessments beneath the chapel of St. Catherine, discovered an unrecorded chamber. Beneath a stone slab lay a sealed crypt. Inside were 4 lead sarcophagi, no names, no markings. Each held a female corpse, naked, bound, blindfolded. In one woman's throat was a charred parchment inscribed, "The song of renunciation shall fall silent in the grave." Forensic experts confirmed, cause of death, strangulation. No signs of struggle, sedatives in their blood. Traces of oil on their skin, on the crypt's walls, visible under UV light. A Latin inscription read, "Corpus ligatum est donum, silenium, purificat." The bound body is a gift. Silence purifies. This was no accident. It was a crime. After the 4 nuns vanished, the convent entered a tense silence. Despite the gravity, no public alert was raised. Neither police nor church authorities appeared immediately. Abbot Albini maintained they had left for personal reasons. Only 3 days later was the local police informed. The investigation began. Cautiously, officially, a search was launched, but with no press releases or structured interviews. Case files were sealed. A 1972 internal report revealed decades later stated, "No signs of forced entry, no foreign traces in the cells, doors locked from inside." The hypothesis of voluntary departure cannot be excluded. Inside the convent, anxiety grew. Some remaining nuns later anonymously claimed to have heard the bell tower ring after midnight, the night of the disappearance, a bell typically reserved for deaths. The next morning, Father Albini was unusually calm. He allowed no questions and forbade discussion of the events. 7 months later, the investigation was officially closed. Reason given: no evidence of criminal conduct. No basis for further action. The files were sealed. The Vatican remained silent. The matter was avoided in church circles. The women disappeared not just from life, but from records. Their names were erased from all convent registers. What remained was silence. Institutional, collective silence, settling over the convent like dust on forgotten books. The truth wasn't lost. It was deliberately ignored. 50 years later, it would become clear. This silence wasn't born of ignorance. It was part of the plan. In spring 2023, the convent of St. Rosalia was chosen for major restoration after 5 decades of decay. Architect Paul Alabardon examined the foundation of the chapel of St. Catherine. What he discovered appeared in no blueprint or archive. Beneath a stone floor slab under the altar was a hollow space. Geophysical scans confirmed the void. Authorities were notified. Archaeologists were summoned. The space was sealed. The air inside was old and dry, preserving. Inside, for lead sarcophagi, plain, unmarked, symbol-free, each casket was carefully soldered shut. An unusual effort. Days passed before specialists could open them under sterile conditions. Each held a naked, bound, blindfolded woman. No visible injuries. One body, later identified as Sister Beatrice, held a burned parchment in the trachea with the inscription, "The song of renunciation shall fall silent in the grave." Forensics confirmed, cause of death, strangulation. No signs of defense. Blood samples contained benzodiazepines, a powerful sedative. Their skin bore traces of anointing oil. UV light revealed Latin inscriptions on the crypt walls. Corpus ligatum est donum. Silentium purificat. The bound body is a gift. Silence purifies. Investigators concluded the crypt was deliberately constructed, sealed, and hidden, with no official record. None of the 4 victims had ever been registered as deceased. Their corpses weren't missed. Their existence erased. With the crypt's discovery, a crime buried for decades was uncovered, marking a turning point in the case of the Sant'Alessio convent. With the discovery, the case was officially reopened. Sicilian police, aided by forensic historians and church archivists, began a systematic search of the convent, starting with the library, the oldest wing. There, in a hidden safe behind a wall panel, they found a bundle of old documents, yellowed, partly damaged, but readable. These included diary excerpts, confession notes, and handwritten memos. The authors, the 4 missing sisters. The text revealed internal tensions at the convent. They spoke of inappropriate rituals, night gatherings, and physical punishments by clergy. One passage from Matilda's diary read, "He is silent, and so we must speak. Silence is complicity." Several notes referenced a planned report to the order's leadership, an anonymous dossier to document abuse, violence, and violations of religious vows. But it was never submitted. Rosanna wrote, "I don't know if we will see this through. But what is happening here must not continue." Investigations confirmed. The report was never sent. Copies were destroyed, but the notes remained, hidden, maybe to be read one day. A central discovery was a list of 4 names: Matilda, Rosanna, Beatrice, Laura, found among the belongings of Father Albini, who died in 1998. Next to it, in Latin, Requiem, Inventum est, peace has been found, dated July 14, 1971, the exact day they vanished. This evidence was enough to dismantle the theory of voluntary disappearance. What emerged was a coordinated act of silencing, protected by structures that suppressed any inquiry for decades. As the investigation deepened, one figure drew increasing attention: Archbishop Lorenzo Belli. In the 1970s, he was the direct ecclesiastical superior of Father Albini. Long seen as conservative but unremarkable, new archive finds painted a different picture. Inside a sealed envelope found in a Vatican side archive was a letter bearing the seal of the Archdiocese of Palermo. Sender: Belli. Recipient: Albini. Date: early July 1971. Its message was clear: act as needed. The Lord forgives when men do not know. This cryptic but damning line was seen by investigators as an implicit instruction to cover things up. The connection between the letter and the convent events days later could no longer be denied. Other documents, including diocesan meeting minutes, revealed discrepancies. Travel logs were backdated, attendance lists manipulated, signatures forged. A picture emerged of a coordinated effort to suppress internal accusations. A former church secretary, speaking anonymously, testified the 4 sisters were known, not liked, but known. People knew they asked questions, that they didn't accept everything. After their disappearance, their names were erased from all official records. Their membership in the order was retroactively declared null, an extremely rare canonical step. Experts believe this move aimed to sever all ties, to make it appear as though these women had never existed. The 2023 Internal Investigation Report concluded the institutional silence was not due to lack of information. It was deliberately orchestrated, responsible not only those who acted, but those who enabled it through silence. For the first time, a senior church official, Belli, stood at the center of suspicion. But the archbishop had died in 1995, never questioned, never held accountable.